All right. Gonna start doing more talks if I get the time in the evenings. Work a lot in the days. And today I'm gonna talk a little bit about grassroots capitalism and Bitcoin Cash, crypto, and the philosophy of cause and effect. And this is, I'm gonna tell a little story about how I've started a few different businesses. Not all of them have been good. Um, but I back in the days when I first started my cleaning company, um, I'm gonna tell you, man, all I had was what did I have? I had a van. I think I paid about $1,200 for this sucker. The sucker was a huge piece of shit, piece of junk. And what else did I have? I didn't have much. I bought, some soap. I bought, gosh, some squeegees, that kind of stuff. I really didn't have too much. But what I did know was that my income would be proportional to, well, first of all, I'd seen it done before. I'd looked around and I'd seen other people who had successful cleaning companies, right? So I knew it could be done. And I figured, hey, man, well, if I can get even a tenth of what they're doing or whatever over the years, if I reach out and communicate with enough people over time, I'll sort of average it out. I'll figure it out. I'll do a good job. And that philosophy actually works. And it did work for me. I built it up from basically nothing to over 10 years later, doing really, really well. But when I first started, I had a philosophy of being causative. That means I didn't have a bunch of stuff, but I was willing to take the action necessary to communicate to enough people through volume and through quality. Okay. So through quantity and quality of communication, when you're new, you have to promote and reach out. And I'm telling you, man, I started doing flyers. I was doing 500 flyers every day. My feet were really sore, but I was excited about starting my company. And I found customers and grew it. Eventually, I did a good job, and I did a bad job sometimes, and had to fix my ways, fix my errors. And over the years, I figured it out. Eventually, trained a bunch of people. Now a lot of them are doing really well, running their own companies. And but the whole idea of me, let's say at the start of my company, I was to say, well, I don't have enough funding. I think at the time I was in debt. I had $17,000 in debt. That was a lot of money to me then. And I guess I could have used that and said, well, if I had more money, then I could afford more advertising or, this, or I could do that. And all those things are true. If I had more, I could probably do more. But it's actually kind of a lie. And in grassroots capitalism, the cool thing about it is the ingenuity of bringing um, something to the marketplace or to people, specifically to individuals, and servicing them and finding out what is needed and wanted and providing it and then being compensated for it so that that money is a symbol for the help that you have provided to another person. And to that degree, that money has value. So I had to sort of, they say, raise yourself by your own bootstraps. It's not necessarily a good term, but it sort of is, because it is in one way, because you you do have to make a decision, and you have to be willing to communicate to enough people to find out what's needed and wanted, and then get that delivered and get that produced. And to their satisfaction, you get paid. Yeah, with the advent of easy credit, I believe it's actually a detriment to the grassroots capitalist movement because if you have too much easy credit, you actually kill the ingenuity a little bit because a person has to sort of learn this thing about what does it mean to make a decision. And if you strip a man down of everything else, eventually he either makes a decision of I'm not going to do it or I am going to do it. And I hope that, like that's kind of rough, but it's almost like I am going to survive or I am going to succumb. I am going to die or I'm going to live. And that's the sort of aspect of starting with nothing that is very important to the human condition. I wouldn't try to take that away from people. It's one that, we look at, you can look at different places in the world and, and I'm not by any means trying to say that everyone along the world in the world can change their whole life and their whole environment with just a decision. But I'm also not saying that they can't either. It is possible, but it starts with making a decision with something small and finding out that you can make it happen and being causative over that. If you go the reverse, it's actually where you're the effect, where you say, I have to have this tangible possession or physical energy requirement before I can take action. And it's the reverse. So materialism operates on this principle. Materialism operates on the idea that I need to have a bunch of stuff in order for me to then, for me to rise up and get shit done. It's not really the way of successful businesses. You will see that a lot of successful businesses come out of very rough times. That's because they have no option other than to produce. They don't have easy credit. They don't have mom to lend them money or like a Coinbase an unlimited future supply of money to to supply and throw at them. No, it means something different. When you have to sell it, you have to go out, find somebody, tell them what you want to deliver, then deliver it, and then the money's yours. Now, sometimes you do have to do it backwards. You got to raise money and then go and deliver your product. But at least in this way, if you raise the money first, you'll be held to a standard because then you can be measured by whether or not you profited or whether or not you paid back that initial investment fund. Okay? So if you do look at, like, I challenge you to look deeply into the businesses. I don't know the books of, of ABC or Cointext or, anything like that. But I will tell you, if you look at their books, right, and you look at the investment funds that were raised in order to start those projects, I don't have all the numbers, but to me, it doesn't jive. It doesn't, when I see someone who has started something and made it successful, okay, that's a person who, and made it successful not through the access of credit, okay, if they did access credit, then that credit has to be paid back before that business can be deemed viable, okay. If I'm wrong, I don't have access to these companies' books, but I see quite a double standard there, where that's why I'm not in support of companies that aren't able to hold themselves up by their own production, and I see it as a red flag when you simply saying, hey, well, like, say, for example, let's say I say to my client, I say, well, look, I've got to in order for me to I've started your job, and in order for me to finish this job, I'm going to have to raise the prices, and I don't even know when I'm going to be done. How long would I last in business? Not that long, because my customer needs to know when I'm going to start, how much it's going to be, and when it's going to finish, right? So, grassroots capitalism, the simplicity of it is that a person can make a decision. They can find out what's needed and wanted, right? With a customer, okay? Now, this is the way of life. There is no other way. There really isn't. And I think it's a big mistake to try to to not just confront it head on. So that means, yeah, we could look around in the Bitcoin Cash community and we say, man, what the fuck? We got all these forks and like it's difficult. We'd love to see more transactions, but it is a grassroots movement. It's real people who have an understanding of how the world works, and they're going to bring it to each individual one by one if you need to, right? And if people think it's a dumb idea, they're not going to come aboard. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe it's not what's needed and wanted to have a sound money, decentralized currency. I think it is. But I think it's reverse. It's wrong to operate from a philosophy of an effect, which is the idea that you have to possess now before you can take action and grow that thing up. That's the opposite of the human condition. That's sold to people. It's basically a bill of goods, right? It is materialism, and it's very defeatist. If you look at the companies that are paid straight through the government and do contracts for the government, you'll see they're highly inefficient. And they're that way for a reason, because the longer they can prolong their contract, right? They can, from their perspective, become more profitable. But in a way, if it costs them more money to do their projects, they don't see that the effects that has on the overall economy and where that money comes from and how it comes back to them in taxes, and generally just lowers the emotional level of the society in general until we're all just leeching and being out for ourselves. In grassroots capitalism, the beauty of it is that it's actually very unselfish, because you have to drop your ego so much. You have to reach out to another person and you have to discover what is needed and wanted for them. So you actually have to go into communication with another person. And when you find out what's really needed and wanted, that's when they'll pay you. It's not necessarily what you thought was needed and wanted. So that's the danger of having a crony sort of system that just pays whoever is available or the apparent authority by default. No, by keeping it decentralized, you can. Sometimes there are times where innovation runs dry, and it's only going to be the hardcore dudes that are going to be out there spreading the good word. It's not where a developer is going to salvage the coin for us, or the price of the coin, or anything like that. It's going to be individuals who are in communication with another, showing them, giving them a wallet, and then the hope of future transactions. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. Now, that can manifest itself in thousands and millions of different ways based on the ingenuity of all the players in the market, right? But it comes down to that simplicity. And so those who have a philosophy of effect in order to be cause is backwards. You have to decide, you have to take action, be effective, use those funds to propel yourself and to grow your company. And if you haven't been able to do that and pay back your debts and pay back your initial investors, look, you need to do some soul searching. You need to really realize, like, you are in violation of the laws of nature, and you can violate the laws of nature for a large portion of a single lifetime. You can be in violation of it for a good 50 years before it clicks in and you figure out what the fuck, right? So it's better just to accept the challenge of of grassroots capital. I don't even really like to call it capitalism because nowadays the word is so perverted. But if you just think of it as though if I help you, you help me, right? Now, I don't think that this is exempt from in the Bitcoin Cash community. I think there is a concept of delivering goods and services, in the on the IFP uh, side. I'm just not in favor of it of long-term policies that say it takes a sort of risk where it says, okay, how much? It's like this. It's like a lot of people. I was talking on Twitter today, and it was like theft equals bad. Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. If you because if you do if you if theft hurts everybody. It actually hurts the person who steals and devalues the possession, right? If money is the result of production, and so it doesn't have value if you go ass backwards. If I just say, "Oh, here's some government money, here you go," it it can't have value because it has to be reversed, where it has to become part of the mindset of the human condition, where a person makes a decision for themselves, takes action, and then helps another person with it first, then figures out how to manage that money and how to help more people in order to grow. And if my business model is not working like that whole thing, it shows that there is no demand for my services. Okay. Um, and it doesn't mean I don't appreciate ABC or anything. Um, but they do have it backwards. It is backwards. Okay. It is a philosophy of effect versus a philosophy of cause. Because I can fucking promise you, I could take me or any other individual, and if you put me in ABC for 3 years, okay, I would revert. I would make it a very profitable company because there's certain people who really know their shit, right? And when they get it, they know how to produce. They know who their client is, right? They don't need to backdoor the money supply, right? And find some other way of survival because it's not a way of survival. And if we sometimes we feel discouraged because we go, man, look at all these. We've had so many crazy experiences. We had so many crazy forks and all that kind of stuff. And there's merit to every fork, and there's merit. There's a reason for that. But at the end of the day, it's to be productive that you have to have an individual who has to make a decision that he's going to help another person. And a lot of times when you're first doing this, you have a wrong idea of what it takes to help that other person. You got to find out and you got to learn what's going on. And if you can't turn sometimes it's in your product, man. Like maybe you're not good at cleaning yet. Maybe you thought you were a great cleaner and you just never let the client find out. You might have been a great cleaner, but every time the client paid you, you just walked right off and didn't say anything, didn't get any referrals, didn't spread the good word, didn't get any PR, right? Maybe that's true. Maybe it's all a matter of that. But okay, well, I'm going long, but I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. So my point is that it's a philosophy of causation where you don't need anything other than a decision to begin. Now later on, yeah, you need more and more. But the ingenuity comes from having very little and turning it into a profitable, viable endeavor. And if you can't do that, then you're either you're not hearing the market signals, right? Or you're ignoring them. Okay? That's it. Thank you.